Thank you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it, because what else do we have to do on a Wednesday evening, right? And so this is our 10th grade evening program. It's for parents and for especially students. And we're very fortunate to have many college professionals in our area that we count on and who help us out every year, multiple times a year. And we have three fantastic people from three wonderful colleges, so we're really blessed. And I'll just introduce them quickly. They're going to go in a particular order. Each presenter will present about 20 minutes or so, and at the very end we'll have questions from you all. So we have two microphones. This one is for the camera, so that it's being taped if you want to watch it again. And then this one obviously is for so you can hear right now in the auditorium. So with us tonight, we have Colin O'Reilly. He's the Assistant Director of Admissions at Siena College. We also have Allison Applegate. She's the admissions counselor from SUNY Cobleskill. And we have Megan McMahon, and she's Assistant Director of Admissions from Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts, also MCLA. So I didn't want to abbreviate first. So a couple of housekeeping things. We have this event this time of the year. It's very timely because in January we're going to be inviting your 10th graders in to the counseling center, and we're going to be picking courses for junior year. So listening to what college people have to say and their expectations for future college students, it's good to know in high school what are the kinds of things that they're looking for. So that's something that they'll share with you. So that's just something that you want to be aware of. The other thing is we have the curriculum guide. Amy Knapp is going to show you a little bit later after the presentation on the website. So she's going to show the curriculum guide and how to get to it on our high school website, so you can read over the courses that are available. And also at the end of the presentation from our college people, we're going to show a short video to explain the pre-ACT results. So you'll have that as well. And just keep in mind, you're being asked to complete a short survey. It's sent to your email, and it might be convenient to complete on your phone before you leave tonight. That information is very important to our department as we plan these kinds of events and making sure that we serve your needs and expectations. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Colin O'Reilly up, and he's going to talk to you about Siena College.
Thanks so much for already starting to think about a very stressful process, the college process. A lot of parents in the room that are going through this process for the first time might already be overwhelmed, thinking what's going to lie ahead in 2.5 years. The reality of what we're doing here tonight, though, is to make this process as simplified as possible. And we want to make sure at the end of tonight you have a clear pathway to know how, for 3 different types of schools, you can find out the best road to get there. And it's tough when you're starting as a sophomore to kind of figure out, where am I going to go to college? I haven't even taken 2 full years of high school yet. What do I want to study? I'm only 15. And those are tough questions to ask. It's also even tougher to know because you've taken 5 core subjects really as of right now. There's about 500 different careers out there. Not all of them have a major. So the big thing we're going to talk about tonight is just finding the best place to go to school. So I think the worst thing that could happen is you go through this whole college process, you get to school, and you realize it's not the right fit. Because at the end of the day, you want to go to a school you're going to enjoy. There's a lot of great schools out there. Rankings are important. Graduation rates are important. Cost of tuition is important. But the fit is the most important thing. And that's what we're going to really talk about today. So the sophomores in the room, thank you so much for being here on your own free will. I know this was definitely the number one thing you were looking forward to today when you started your day. Like tonight, learning about colleges. But you know what? It's important because I was the type of senior who applied to Siena College after falling in love with it and found out I didn't have the right math curriculum I needed to get accepted. And I had to go to Hudson Valley Community College for 1 semester and transfer right in. And that's a pathway that I wish I didn't have to take long story short, though, I needed that. I wasn't ready at that point. But you're all in a position now to make sure by the time you get to senior year, you're not going to have that math course restricting you from getting accepted to your dream school. You're not going to have to go to another institution to find your pathway to your dream school. And for right now, you got to just start thinking big picture. Do I like big schools? Do I like small schools? Am I the type of student who would do very well in a lecture hall this size? Or do I like the teacher to know my name? These are really good, important questions to ask. And you are so lucky because you live in an area that has every single type of college right in your backyard. And I really stress this because as biased of an alumni of Siena College as I am, I'm an unbiased one because I know Siena is the right fit for the right student. But there's a lot of great schools out there. My best friend went to UAlbany. We went to the same high school. He loved every second at UAlbany. I loved every second at Siena. We don't talk during the Siena-UAlbany game. And it works because we both enjoyed our college experiences. And for you, you can just start by scheduling a tour. I think when you start to think, what is the best way to prepare for college in general at this point, is to start thinking about college. Do I want to go to a large school? Do I want to stay close to home? And if you have the chance to travel for any type of holiday occasion, maybe coming up, maybe Hanukkah, maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's just New Year's, take a gander at what colleges are around wherever you're traveling to, just to see maybe this distance is far enough away from home for you, if you're thinking about leaving the Albany area. But I do encourage you, start in your backyard. You don't have to travel 200 miles to find out Siena is too small, or UAlbany is too big, or maybe I want to be in a city, or maybe I want to be in a suburb. So these are things you can start thinking about now and easily schedule these visits with your local colleges and universities as well. But then when you finally compile your list of schools, if you know I like a small type of college, the first thing I'll say is look at all the schools we compete against in our athletic conference. We're all very similar in size. But you'll know at that point, okay, I've got 10 schools that are roughly around the same size that I can look at that aren't all in my backyard. But if you also know you want a bigger school, that's a great way to start as well. And each type of college or university is going to have different types of requirements when you apply in. And I think if you don't know what you want to study at the age of 15, you're being honest. And that's okay. And we encourage you to say that. And as you go through high school right now, I encourage you to push yourself. And it's going to be the same thing you've heard all throughout freshman year. Keep taking those harder courses. Take the APs. Definitely take those college-level courses. But know your limits as well. Because the worst thing you can do is take 4 APs your senior year and be failing because you're overwhelmed. So what we would encourage you to do at Siena College is take 4, by the time you graduate, we do encourage students to be best set up for success in college, to have 4 full years of English, 4 full years of history, 4 full years of math. Ideally, it's pre-calculus, but Algebra 2 trigonometry will work, or statistics your senior year will work. And then also 4 full years of science. Maybe it's taking physics your senior year, or maybe taking an AP chemistry, or an AP environmental science, or an AP biology. But then also a foreign language, at least 3 years. But for us, that should set you up for a pretty good chance of getting accepted into either our School of Business, School of Science, or School of Liberal Arts. And I think it's tough right now, too, when you're thinking, I want to be a doctor. Great. If you want to be a doctor, then the one thing I can encourage you to do is make sure you're doing very well in science. It sounds pretty self-explanatory, but truly it matters. When an admissions counselor is looking at a high school transcript and we see 75, 81, 82 freshman, sophomore, junior year in earth science, biology, and chemistry, we want to accept you into biology, but biology just so happens to be our hardest program to get accepted to. And we're also questioning, why do you want to be a doctor if you're not the strongest in science? So kind of you have to look internally when you're starting this college search process to find out where are my strengths and where do I struggle a little bit. Because personally, I didn't know what I wanted to study when I went to college, and I wish I was in seats like yours right now to kind of get a little foreshadowing into what I could expect my junior and senior year. But I picked marketing on the off chance that I was right. I was just like, yeah, marketing. My cousin was studying it. I didn't know what the field was. I just said it sounded good when I told people what I was going to do in college. No one asked questions. They were like, oh, marketing, good job. And then I got to Siena, and I got accepted into the School of Business, and I found out that marketing wasn't for me. I wasn't understanding it. I wasn't enjoying it. And then I switched over to liberal arts, and it was the best decision I ever made. I enjoyed what I was studying, and that's something I encourage you to do. What are my favorite subjects right now? If it is English, if it is history, if it is a liberal art, that's okay. I know everyone's kind of pushing a lot of different careers at this point, but really enjoy what you're studying. And if you do struggle in math and science like I did in high school, it doesn't mean to not take them junior and senior year. Because you know what? Math and science is going to be waiting for you wherever you go to college, even if you're an English major. So the big thing I can encourage you to do is maybe don't take pre-calculus your senior year if you know you're going to be a liberal arts student. Maybe make sure that you have at least Algebra 2 trigonometry, because that is our minimum math requirement at Siena College, to at least come in and be able to take the first level of math we have at Siena as well. And also, when you get to your senior year and you've got those types of English, science, math, history, and foreign language courses under your belt, you're best prepared for the hardest year yet, which is that transition from high school to college. College is the hardest curriculum that you will take. And the funny thing is, everybody says junior year is your hardest year. It is. It is your hardest year. But that's just because that's the hardest year we get to see as a full year on your transcript. Senior year, though, is that last building block before you go away to college. So when your guidance counselors are encouraging you your senior year to not have 7 study halls, maybe pick up a few extra classes, we encourage you to agree with them and maybe challenge yourself and try a new subject area you have not had the opportunity to take yet. There's always been those situations, though, where a student applies to Siena, is a perfect fit for Siena, but also just unfortunately cannot get accepted to Siena. And there's a lot of ways to avoid rejection. And the biggest thing I can tell you is that every admissions counselor here, basically that you'll meet from now until you decide to go to school, the one secret they want to tell you is we all want to accept you. Every single admissions counselor wants to find a way to get you accepted to their school. And the hard part is we only know you so well. From that first interaction at a night like this, a college fair where we get 5 minutes to talk to you at a table, or for your first visit to Siena College. And in that situation, when you're visiting colleges, the biggest thing I can encourage you to do is to meet your admissions counselor, or meet a admissions counselor. Do an interview. The funny thing about interviews in college is they kind of sound like job interviews for high school students. Like it's going to make or break your acceptance. Not the case. I'm going to spend 20 minutes asking what your favorite teams are. What do you like to do for fun? In the last 10 minutes or so, I'm going to ask about your academics. But we really want to get to know you as a student, because we'll see a lot of times students applying in biology because they love Grey's Anatomy. And at the end of the day, they still don't know what they want to do. There's other pathways to work in the medical field besides being a biology major. And while biology is our hardest major to get accepted to, the big relief I can give you right now is that it is the one major most students transfer out of when they get to Siena College. It's because they come in saying, doctor. But at the end of the day, they realize, there's so many other things I can do. And I don't need to take 2 4-hour labs a week to make sure I do that. You know, the reality is there's so many different careers out there, and it's okay to say, I don't know. And when you're not sure, that's actually the best place to be as a high school student. Because a lot of schools now are really encouraging students to go into undecided or exploring options. This is something that I like to say, everything gets better after you graduate. Guilderland High School is going to get so much better the minute you leave. And then Siena College got so much better the second I graduated from Siena College. We added 2 new buildings. We actually made our student union into a student union. There's a fire pit. But the best addition we added to Siena College was changing undecided liberal arts, undecided science, undecided business to exploring. And we changed the entire dynamic of what we do. And that is because every student who comes in saying, I don't know, has to also take a class called Career Exploration. And this is taught by our career advisors. They tell you exactly where our graduates are going. They tell you what they did to get there. They tell you the salary ranges of the positions they're going into post-graduation. So you're informed. Because at the end of the day, being 15 or 16 and picking the career for the rest of your life, you might not know about the salary ranges or the day-to-day job environment. The last thing we want you to do, too, is become an accountant and realize you don't want to do accounting 9 to 5. So finding a school that can help you figure out exactly what you want to do if you don't know is very important. And visiting is the way to find that out. You can do all the research you want on a website. That will get you pretty far. But walking around a campus, seeing the surrounding area, will truly, truly, truly open up your eyes and say, is this the place I want to go for 4 years? Is this place going to get me the job that I need? And the big message I can tell you is just kind of go through this process knowing that I need to keep pushing myself academically because college is waiting for you. And when you start, it's 5 classes a semester, and they're the hardest 5 you've taken yet. So in that situation, you want to be ready. And that senior year is only going to be possible with great AP classes and great college level classes if you have a great junior year to build on that. And your guidance counselors will advise you to get there. And a lot of great schools in this area take a lot of great Guilderland students, and it's because they have a great curriculum to follow. So while you're picking classes, we encourage you, get that 4th year of science, get that 4th year of math. Even though it might not be required, it's still really important, at least for your success post high school. There's a lot of different types of programs out there, though. Some students might be going just for the traditional, I want to be psychology. It's one of our most popular majors at Siena. Or I want to be accounting. Or maybe they want to apply into our 8-year medical program. That's one of our most competitive programs. And the biggest thing I can tell you is that out of the 500 applications we get a year for that program, we call 48 students in for interviews, and we accept 20. So it's very competitive, and it's 500 of the best and brightest you've ever read. But the funny thing is, about half of that stack of applications gets removed and not reviewed because they haven't visited, and they're within a 2-hour driving distance. Because from our eyes, just imagine the admissions counselor. When you're starting to look at colleges, imagine the admissions counselor that's going to be reviewing your application. If we know you're right down the road and you're applying for the most competitive program we have to offer, and we've never met you, it's going to be really tough for us to say, we need to call this student in for an interview. So you really need to advocate for yourself. You might not even know how. I think the most awkward interaction is that first time you go to a college fair and you're like, hi, why do I want to go to your school? Because you don't know what to ask. It's the first time you're doing it. But as you go to your second and third, it gets easier. You know what you're looking for. Do you have this major? What's your graduation rate? What's your job placement rate? These are questions you know now to ask, but you might not have known on the first try. So I encourage you, definitely talk to your admissions counselors, especially when we email you. And email is key. I know we bombard, once you take the PSAT, we're going to start sending you a lot of emails, and I'm going to apologize in advance for that. But more importantly, I want you to know that when we see your emails being very specific to you, outside of your name, it gives the reader a good idea of really what your priorities are. So if you say football guy 72, okay, it's not very specific, it's probably mixed in with a bunch of other stuff you're signed up for, but when we see johnsoncraig@gmail.com, it's more of a professional one. And if you also have maybe collegemaloney@gmail.com, you can actually be able to, that's okay, you can actually be able to streamline all of your college communications into one email account. Gmail is free. I encourage you, start one today so that when you sign up for the PSAT, all the college emails go right to one spot and you don't lose any information. And all we're trying to do throughout this process is inform you about the programs, inform you about what you're interested in, but also navigate you through this process. And as parents, when you go to these meetings with admissions counselors and tours, ask the questions. We're begging for them. We really want to know, and we want to answer your questions for you. And it might be tough when you're in a room of 30 to 50 people for an information session, but if you have your opportunity to chat one-on-one, we really get to know you that much more, and we want to make sure that you know what you need to know going through this process, because going through it for the first time, it is overwhelming. But every admissions counselor and financial aid counselor you're going to meet from now until then is going to help you get through this process even easier. So outside of just visiting, it's also important to know academically what is the ideal candidate to get accepted to Siena. And ideally, it is having a GPA go up each year. But that's usually in a utopia situation where everything works out and you've never had a concussion from a sport, you've just been career-driven the whole time. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes there is a bump in the road, sophomore year, with the first introduction to geometry. Or maybe it is that chemistry class junior year that you're just like, I don't know why I was good at bio, but now I'm not that great at chem. The thing is, these things happen. But that might also be a better reason to go meet your admissions counselor and to actually have a conversation with us. Because if we know that before we review your application, that gives us a whole lot more information. And we're more willing to advocate for you when we go to accept you. And if we have to deny you, it's usually for a good reason. We're going to give you every opportunity. And when we encourage you to apply early action, these terms might not mean a lot to you right now, but they will when your son or daughter becomes a senior. At Siena, we offer early action, early decision, and regular admission. We encourage you to apply early action, and I apologize to the guidance staff for starting that on August 1st, but we encourage you to apply early action because if we can't accept you on the first try, we're going to see how you do senior year. We're going to kind of wait till your midterm grades come in, give you another chance. But hopefully at that point, you know the best way to apply into Siena, or at least any school you're applying to. And once you have your list of schools and you've been accepted, that's the dream. You want to get accepted everywhere. And then it comes down to the fit. So how do you find out of the 5 schools you've been accepted to, what's the best school for me? And at Siena, one of the things we encourage you to do is to do an overnight because we can't fake it at that situation. So we'll invite you as soon as you get accepted to come do an overnight visit. And that way you can really see what it's like from the student's perspective. But more importantly, then you can find out of the 5 schools which one is the best fit for 4 years. Now, when we accept a student, we send out a merit scholarship, and this is based on your academics, solely on your academics. This is going to go on top of whatever financial aid we award you. Every student accepted to Siena will at least receive this year $12,500, ranging up to $20,000, and that's based on your GPA, your class rank, and the wonderful SAT or ACT, which students in the room, I already see the heads moving in the back. It's nerve-wracking, SATs and ACTs. It's a standardized test. And the beauty for you is that more and more schools are becoming test optional. Not all schools are. So I definitely encourage you to do test prep if it's offered. If you have the opportunity, take it. Take the SAT and ACT if you can, once or twice. Both exams at least once, or one exam at least twice. Because at the end of the day, if you have a higher probability of doing well in at least one section taking an exam twice. But more importantly, no matter what, even as a test optional school, we are going to ask for your SATs or ACTs if you decide to come to Siena. We need it for reporting reasons. So when we look at your SAT score, at least at Siena, we're not making a yes or no decision based on that score alone. It's going to factor in when we award you your merit scholarship. We believe that 3 years of data is better than a test you take for 8 hours on one day. So you can kind of at least relieve the stress a little bit knowing that an SAT score might make or break your application. But the reality is you do want to do well on that. Because if you ever plan on being a lawyer, if you ever plan on being a doctor, if you ever plan on going into dentistry, you're going to have an exam waiting for you at the end of your 4 years of college. Some schools have great test prep programs, but at the end of the day, there's going to be exams waiting for you. So definitely try to do your best on that. And that's the big thing to remember. As you're going through the next 2.5 years, try to do your best. And don't think that we're going to not see sophomore year. Sophomore year is important, so keep pushing yourself. But then junior year is even more important, and senior year is more important. And we know you're taking harder courses, so grades might go down. But for us to see that you're taking those harder courses, it gives us a good reason as to why your grades are going down, rather than taking the bare minimum throughout your 4 years. So I believe that's my time. I want to thank everybody. I hope I didn't ramble on too long, but thank you so much for having me, and I hope you enjoy the next 2 speakers as well.
Okay, thank you, Colin. That was wonderful. Just as a reminder, this is being videotaped, so so you'll be able to watch it again. And for folks who weren't, able to make it tonight, they'll be able to see it as well. Something that came to my attention, Colin, while you were speaking, is about the careers that you mentioned, and certainly at 10th grade, 15 years old, we don't expect you to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. However, we have a wonderful program that students have access to, and we're going to start introducing that tomorrow. For some classes, we already introduced it. It's called Naviance. Some parents who have seniors already might be familiar with that. So the Naviance program has a career interest profiler, and we're going to be doing that in 10th grade English classes. So, and then tomorrow and then again on Friday. So when your child has English tomorrow or Friday, we'll do, it's about a 40-minute activity, and they answer questions about interests, and a whole list of careers comes up. And certainly we don't, the expectation is, you're not supposed to pick the career that's on your list necessarily, but it's matching a student's interests with potential careers in the future. So it's a great activity. They did something like this in middle school. Again, it helps them to get going and thinking about that, and it's a great point of reference for families at home, and you can review this on the website through Naviance, and we'll show students how to access it, and they can share those results with their parents. That's our homework assignment from the Counseling Center, so please expect to share or ask your child about that so they can share that with you. So, next up, we have, I'm guessing, Allison Applegate. She is the admissions counselor from SUNY Cobleskill.
So I just have some visuals. I don't know how I'm going to follow Colin because he basically said everything, but I'm going to try. So we'll just talk a little bit about Cobleskill. We are different than Siena, so I'll give you some specifics, but a lot of it is going to be the same in a different language. So first, start early, and you guys are all here, so you're all starting early anyway. I know at 15, 10th grade, you don't really know what you want to do, and that's okay. But, start thinking about what you enjoy doing, because that's kind of when it leads to, okay, maybe this is what I want to study in college. Maybe I want to go study history, or maybe I want to go study theater or music, or, any one of those things. Kind of just knowing what you want to do and what you enjoy, and what you like doing in your free time, or if you really, really like a specific class, it's a really great way to kind of just start thinking about your options. You can also just do a Google search of schools that offer music, schools that offer history, schools that offer this, schools that offer that. And it just gives you, a good list that you can start. Also challenge yourself early. Don't wait until, the end of your time in high school to take the challenging classes. Start taking them early. 11th grade is a good time to start. Start taking some AP classes. Definitely do your practice SAT, practice ACT. It definitely does help you when you go take the actual test in junior year. And attend college fairs early. So I know that you think that it's probably too early to start going to college fairs, but when you go, start early and see what's out there, especially a lot of the CASDA fairs that happen at night. There are hundreds of colleges there, so you can talk to a bunch of them to kind of see if you want a big college, if you want a small college, if you want a college out of state, if you want a college in-state, if you want SUNY, if you want private, things like that. Don't overextend yourself. Definitely challenge yourself. Take some AP courses if you think that you're up for it, but don't load up on 5 AP courses in a year if you don't think that you're going to be successful. We'd rather see 1 AP course each year than see you be successful in it than see 5 2s on your AP exams. So definitely try to challenge yourself, see what's out there, but don't put too much on your plate, because it doesn't reflect as well if you take too much. And college level courses. So there's AP classes and then there's college and the high school classes. We like to see those too. But again, don't take more than you think that you can, deal with. The SAT and ACT, I'm definitely not going to talk as long as Colin did either. So the SAT and the ACT, why do we want you to take them? So yes, a lot of colleges are going towards test optional, which is great. There are still a lot of colleges out there that are not test optional. So depending on where you're looking at, you might find a few colleges on your list that are test optional. Great. There might be a few that are not test optional, so just take them. If you don't do well on them, if you find that you don't test well with the SAT and ACT, you're not alone. There are a lot of students who don't test well, and that's okay. Again, 8 hours of one day on a Saturday in March does not, give us the whole picture. So for a lot of schools, it's not a huge make or break, but it does give some schools just a little snapshot. I was told the Pepsi and Coke visual was really great. So the SAT and the ACT, there is a little bit of a difference, even though they're both standardized tests. The SAT does English, math, reading assessment. The ACT adds in science. So I know I never took the ACT because I was really not strong in science. And I was like, I'm not going to take that. I'm not great at science, whatever. So I took the ACT, and I took it a few times. It's really, colleges will usually take one or the other. You can take both if you want to, see how well you do. A lot of schools also super score, which means that we'll take the highest, for the SAT, we'll take the highest if you took 3 different SATs. We'll take the highest section on the English, no matter what date it was, and then we'll take the highest section on the math, and it doesn't matter what date it was, and we'll use that to calculate your overall score. So if you do take multiple, that's great, and we can just use the highest from each, whichever date that you get it from. A lot of schools also rely on scholarship opportunities, rely on SAT scores for scholarship opportunities as well. So if you're looking at any scholarships, whether it's foundational scholarships right from the school or looking for outside scholarships that you can bring in, a lot of them still look for SAT scores to kind of see how you did with those, and they'll look for those scores as well before they award scholarships. So just SUNY Cobleskill requirements, to be a little more specific towards us. We are different than Siena. We're also different than MCLA in that we are more of a technical college. So we're not liberal arts, quote unquote. So we're what's known as an ag and tech school, agriculture and technology, which most people know us for our farm and our agriculture programs. We also have, business, graphic design, information technology, psychology programs. But because we're more of a technical school, we rely a lot more on SAT scores and college courses and GPA than we do letters of recommendation or an essay. So here are the requirements. We do offer associate degree programs and bachelor degree programs. A little bit of a difference with us as well is that we don't have blanket admissions, so we don't offer basically each program comes forward and gives the admissions office the criteria that they want for their applicants. So the students who are applying for a psychology bachelor's degree have different entrance requirements than the students who are looking at going into a business program. So these are just generally what we're looking for our students. For associate degree programs, it is a little less than the bachelor's, so we're looking for a high 70s GPA, algebra, and at least living environment, biology. And then for our bachelor degree programs, we're looking for 80s GPA. We are looking for the SAT or the ACT score, and we're also looking for algebra, geometry, algebra 2 trig, as well as living environment and chemistry. If you take more than that, that's great, but this is the minimum for the majority of our programs within these two blocks. Program requirements do vary by program, as I said, so not every program has this, but this is for the majority of the programs that we offer. We do have a few trends because we're more of an agricultural-related school. Our really popular and very competitive programs are programs within our wildlife department. So our wildlife management, environmental management, fisheries programs, both the associate and the bachelor degree options, are very popular and have become extremely competitive. We also have our diesel technology program within agricultural engineering. So diesel technology, ag power machinery, ag equipment technology, those are all very popular. Those two programs are the programs that usually close out every year. So they have relatively high requirements to get in, and then we close them out really early every year too. We do have a 97% placement rate, so that's definitely something to look at when you start looking at colleges is, are we going to get internships? Are we going to get placement? Do they have good placement into jobs or grad school or both? How many connections do these schools have? We do require internships for the majority of our bachelor's degrees. So for students going towards a BT, which is a Bachelor in Technology, an internship, a full semester internship, is built right into your curriculum. So you do that usually before you graduate. Usually it's your last semester. It's a really great way to start networking. It's very great to put on your resume. We have students go to the DEC every semester. We have students go down to Washington, D.C. We have students in New York City. We have students everywhere for internships. And then we also, because of that, there's a lot of networking opportunities, which adds to our placement rate being so high, which is good. So the next thing you want to see, the next thing you want to really think about is what requirements do you need to get accepted to college? As Colin was saying, each school kind of has different requirements, and that's okay. But when you find a list of schools that you're kind of looking at and you're like, okay, I definitely want to apply to these schools, think about what you need and make sure that you can get it into Cobleskill, at least, if we see that it's in progress, we use that as, if you didn't take Algebra 2 Trig until senior year, we'll say, okay, it's in progress, they're taking it, great, check that off the list. I don't know how other schools deal with that, but we at least will be like, okay, at least it's in progress, I'm sure they'll do fine. So just make sure you're taking, your sciences and your maths, and make sure that you're taking your standardized tests. For colleges that require essays and the letters of recommendation, start thinking about asking for those early in your senior year. Start making those relationships early now. So if you want a letter of recommendation from your global teacher this year, make that relationship, make sure it's a good one. That way you're not rushing to find 2 letters of recommendation in your senior year right before you try to submit your application. Rule of thumb is to ask someone for a letter of recommendation about a month before it actually needs to be submitted. So it gives the teacher time to actually put something thoughtful together and not just pull a template off of Google. Have you shown interest in attending the college? Again, I'm kind of piggybacking off of Colin, but it really does matter a lot of the time if you visit, if you make some sort of contact with us, if you call us, if you email us, if you come to a tour, if we see you at a college fair. The little cards that are really annoying to fill out, we bring them back, we track them, we see, okay, this student applied for wildlife management. We saw her at 3 different fairs this year. She has a lot of, she's very interested. Did you come for a college tour? Did I talk to you for 20 minutes before you went on tour? If you're someone whose grades are kind of, you have a bad junior year or you have a bad sophomore year for whatever reason, come talk to us about it. We want to know what happened. We want to know, if you're back on track, and just kind of get that out of the way. We can make a note in your application to be like, the student had a lot of health issues, she was in and out of the hospital for whatever reason, which resulted in the poor grades sophomore year or whatever. So it definitely does make a difference. We've had students, specifically I've had students, I work a lot with transfer students, where their GPA, it's a little more black and white than freshman admissions, but I've had students come up to me that says, I know I'm not at the 2.50 transfer GPA, but I was in and out of the hospital and I really, wasn't in class a lot because of it, and it really resulted in this poor semester, which brought my overall GPA down. And when I can talk to someone about that and be like, okay, I understand, it really does make a difference, because her application came along and her GPA was right on the edge, and I was like, she came in, she spent the time to talk to me, she took an afternoon, she put in the effort, and that's what we want to see. And I think a lot of colleges will feel the same. And that's it. But I think we're holding questions until the end after everyone goes.
Okay, so next up we have Megan McMahon from MCLA, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts, and she's the assistant director there.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for sitting through these presentations tonight. And I will start off that I am also going to be piggybacking off of Allison and Colin, because what we're saying really truly is important. It's not just meant to be repetitive, just to be repetitive. We see all of this information and all these students come through our offices every single day. And so we wanted to best give you the information in 3 different lights. But I come from MCLA being a different institution in the sense that not only are we in another state, but a lot of times people think we're a private school. We share a lot of applications with Siena College, but we are actually a state university like SUNY Cobleskill in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So our requirements are a little bit different, and I'll kind of go through that similar to what Allison did, but just wanted to kind of give that to you ahead of time. So getting started, again, as Colin and Allison said, this is the best thing that you can be doing. Coming to these information nights, coming to college fairs, this is the best start that you can have. How many of you have already gone through the college process with another son or daughter? Okay. How many was in the last year? So some were quite a few years ago. Things have changed. It seems like things are the same, but I promise by the time your students that are sitting next to you today are going through this process, some things will be similar, but it will change. So, one of the things we suggest is to start talking as a family. So obviously you're here, but when you go home this evening, when you're off for Christmas break and or the holidays, definitely start talking to your parents. So this is to students. Start talking to your family. You know, what is it that you're interested in and when you go to college, your major? What is it that, how far do you want to go? You know, things are going to change in the next 2 years for you, but to start these conversations are really important because there's a lot of families out there that don't have the support that you may have in your household. So by utilizing that point of contact with your family is really important. Start making a list, and that kind of goes with the talk of what are you looking for in a college. It's really important, not just what do your parents want, it's what you want. This is your process. As much as they are your support system, and in most cases they will be paying for some of your college tuition, or if not all, it is your process. So you want to start to make a list of what you'd like to do. Talk to your counselor. And when I say counselor, I mean not only admissions counselors, but your school counselors. They are your best resource. They speak to us all the time through email, phone. A lot of them have known us for many years, maybe just some few years, but they are your best resource in addition to your admissions counselors. So please don't be afraid to talk to them. If you're really ready for this college process, don't be embarrassed. Go talk to them. They're going to help you through this process. You know, as Colin said, start researching institutions online. It is the point for you now. When we were looking at colleges, I know the school counseling office can also say this, it was look through books, and probably for parents, look through books in the guidance office. It's not that way anymore. Everything's online. So definitely start your research there. Go to college visits. And when I say go to college visits, I don't mean just you know, visiting the college, because that's important, and I will definitely stress that again in this presentation. But also if you have the opportunity to meet colleges in another light. So I don't know, you guys don't do individual visits anymore, right? So if you can go to an interview off campus or outside of your school, if you can go to an event that the institution is holding, all of that, as Colin and Allison said, we take that into consideration. It's called demonstrated interest, and it's only going to help you. Excuse me. Attend the college fairs and challenge yourself academically. Start creating your strong schedule. So in just a month, you guys are going to be sophomores. We'll be starting to create that schedule. So start to think about AP classes, to think about honors if you haven't already had that opportunity, or college in the high school, because a lot of colleges now are looking for students that have already had some college experience. Not all, but many. So we want to see, did you challenge yourself? How did you do in those classes? But we also want you to kind of get that start right away if you have that opportunity. If you're not sure if you're eligible for those courses, again, utilize your guidance counselors or your school counselors. Make sure that they can give you the information on how to be enrolled in an AP or an honors or a college in the high school course. Okay, so what are colleges looking for? This is very general. Obviously, we're all different, but we want to know what's going to make you stand out. So those interviews that my colleagues were talking about, those are important. Don't take them lightly. They're fun. Same as Sienna. We're not just like a robot, job interview and questions. We want to know about you, but it can really help us to figure out who are you. You are all, no matter what people tell you, beyond your SAT scores and beyond your GPA. That is very important, but we know that you're humans and we know that you are beyond other people beyond school. So that's our greatest way to know that, is for you to do an interview and to also express any way you can on your application. Again, we're looking at your academics. Every institution is different. GPA and SAT scores are required at MCLA, and I'll talk about that in a moment specifically. We want to see your meaningful extracurricular activities. So we love that you're joining clubs. We love that you're a babysitter or you're volunteering or things like that. We want to know all of that. But don't think about the things you did in middle school. Start to build your resume, essentially, because that is going to be a big part of your applications as well. Depending on if the school requires an essay, MCLA is not required but highly encouraged, because that is the best way that I know my students. Start to think about what you might write in your college essay. I know it seems like far away, but you don't want to be writing that essay last minute in senior year, because you already have enough essays to deal with when you come to senior year. Again, same for letters of recommendation. and demonstrated interest, as we've been talking about. It really is important to visit those colleges and make those connections with us. It can start tonight. If you have any questions for any of us, we'd be glad to answer them, but also to start making that relationship with you and your family. Other things that colleges are also looking for is willingness to take risks. So again, by taking those challenging courses and doing well in them, and a sense of social responsibility. Because of the climate that we live in now, we're looking for students who are going to challenge themselves academically, but also are willing to take things on in another light as well. Talk about difficult topics, how to solve problems by problems that are created. And so that's what college is there for. But in particular, at a liberal arts institution that I work for, and I went through a liberal arts curriculum, that's what we teach, is how to be a global citizen. So if you can come to our institutions and have some of those abilities, you're going to grow even further. And then, of course, we're looking at volunteer work because, of course, that makes you a great person, but also we want to see how you will contribute to our universities. So specifically to MCLA, again, we are a state institution in Massachusetts. For those who've never heard of us, we are in North Adams in the Berkshires, formerly North Adams State College. Some people might know us. So I kind of gave a similar view as Allison did. So our average GPA is about a 3.2. So that's between an 85 and an 87. So we look at the core subjects, as every institution does. Like Siena, we do look for 4 years of math. It's actually a requirement in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, although we also understand that in New York State it is not a requirement. If you can challenge yourself and take that 4th year of math, please do it. That's something I wish I did. I was not a math person, I'm still not, but if you can take that trig class, you can take that stats class, that's only going to help you even more when you go further on in your education, because you never know when you're going to run into that again, especially if you're in psychology. A lot of people don't realize that you'll be taking stats in some capacity. So you can see here our average SAT scores is about a 1080, ACT is about a 24, and we look very similar to SUNY Cobleskill at your traditional courses, but anything beyond that is obviously even better. We are one of those blanket schools that Allison was talking about, so our GPA, average GPAs, are for all of our majors. They are not specific to a particular program because we do not have any technical programs at MCLA. They are all bachelor's, 4-year degrees that you don't, when you get into MCLA, you get into the program essentially. Some other things that MCLA, some advantages and things that we look at, we give extra weight to honors, AP, and college and the high school classes. So a lot of the universities are doing this now, recalculating GPAs. That's something to talk about with the colleges that you are interested in. So when we recalculated GPA, if any student has an honors class, we give a half a grade higher than what they got in that class. If they take an AP or a college and the high school course, we give an entire grade higher. So it's an incentive to make sure that you're doing well. Even if Guilderland weighs it already, we will weigh it again. So it can be a matter of a scholarship or not. It can be a matter of a higher scholarship or not. MCLA has recently changed the way that we do scholarships. We used to use SATs. We no longer use them for scholarships. We are now just GPA only. But that just means that it is more competitive in the sense of how many we're able to give, because they do go really quickly. We are looking for strong letters of recommendation. So I actually read every single word, and I'm not lying to you, of a letter of recommendation. So thank you to the school counselors who write those letters of recommendation and the teachers, because it is important, again, for us to see who you are as an individual, not just who you are on your transcript. We do, again, take into consideration extracurricular activities, so please make sure if you haven't joined something in school, club, something at your church or place of worship, you have a job, something, get involved, because that's what colleges are looking for. We produce leaders at our institution, and we want to make sure that you're going to take that risk, you're going to take that chance to join something, to do something new, because when you get to college, it's really important for you to get to know other people, and that's the way to do it, is by getting involved. And the same thing in high school. And again, sorry for the third time, have you visited? We really take that into consideration, similar to Sienna in the sense that we don't take them away, but we, over the last 3 years, have really taken that highly into consideration, whether or not a student would be admitted, especially if they're on the border. And how will you contribute to our campus environment? That's, again, kind of going back to how will you stand out. We don't want just every Joe Schmo at MCLA. We have enough Joe Schmoes. We want a student who's, again, going to make an impact, because at MCLA, you are a big fish in a small pond. That's the best way that I can describe MCLA and the opportunities that you get. And so we want to see how you're going to be able to contribute to that. So again, if you can't tell, Allison, I loved your presentation. So just to kind of, so you know, things to be asking colleges and universities is about what their majors are. It's okay to come in undeclared. That's my one piece of advice to you. No matter whether students, whether your parents, your school counselors, whoever it might be in your life, they tell you it's not okay to go to college undeclared. It is okay. It really is okay. You're not supposed to know, even at 18, what you want to do. I'm sure a lot of parents have changed careers multiple times, and you will change your career multiple times throughout your life. So it is okay. That's just my little plug for undeclared. But our popular majors are English communications, business administration, psychology, and biology. We are also very strong in the arts, theater, arts management. We're one of the few universities in the United States that has that as a undergraduate program. Our new majors that we just added, for those interested, is community health education, health sciences, which has become very popular, so medical technology, pre-physical therapy, pre-sports medicine, occupational therapy, pre-physician's assistant, those kinds of programs. Electrical engineering is new at MCLA, so through our computer science program, and then we also have a music production minor as well. So there's a few others, but those are kind of the more popular. And we also offer a 4+1 bachelor's, master's program in education at MCLA, which is something that we're known for. We're founded as a teacher's college, and a 3-year accelerated business program. So if you're interested and have any questions about these programs, please let me know. And as Allison said, it is really important for you. One of the other questions to be asking is what graduation rates are, but also what the outcomes are. And so our students are reporting to us, about 93% of our students are in graduate school or at a full-time job within 1 year of graduation, which is something that we're really proud of. MCLA was recently also nominated once again for a top 10 public liberal arts college for U.S. News and World Report. And we're really proud of that, especially the top 3 being military universities. So we're very proud of that. We're working hard towards that. But that's something that you want to talk to admissions counselors. It's not all about statistics. It's not all about what rankings do we have, but it's a good thing to be paying attention to, because where you're going to end up is the most important part. My big thing, my last takeaway, is this process is stressful, but we're here for you just as much as your school counselors are. If you have any questions about anything, even if it's not about MCLA, I have some business cards with me. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm glad to help. We have a great partnership with the school counseling office here at Guilderland. They send us some great students, but know that all of your schools locally and a little further away, over in the Berkshires, we're here for you and your family if you need anything throughout this process. I did questions as well. So keep calm. But thank you very much.
Okay, wow, I'm feeling actually very reassured right now of hearing your messages, because we're not quite at that point in 10th grade where you're going to be, applying to colleges and all of that, but you're preparing for that process. And if I got one clear message is the main message, not the main message, but one of the main messages is visiting. And what I'd like to just encourage you to do, because again, you're in 10th grade, and I'm not saying you all should, run out tonight and make appointments for places, but as you, finish 10th grade school year, it's certainly a fine time. I get that question a lot, is it too early? I'm only a sophomore or something like that. I think colleges enjoy meeting families. Certainly at college fairs, we have one in the spring, we had one in the fall, and every year we host a fall and a spring college fair. So if you want to mark your calendars, this 2019 spring, April 16th, we have our next college fair. And excellent time. These folks probably will be there, or people from their schools will probably be there. So it's a great time to, get to know them and fill out those postcards that they have, because that is, it's not exactly like a visit, but it certainly is a step in the right direction. So visiting, I always encourage my families, we all encourage our families to start with the local schools, not necessarily because we're just saying these are the only schools on the planet, but they're not that far. They're right around the corner, within an hour, or just an hour, right? Megan, is it hour plus? So it's a great way to compare colleges. You could go to a university that's quite large. You could go to a small private school. You could go somewhere in between, right around the corner from where we are. So I would encourage you to do that. It gives you a good sense of what's available on campuses, because you just don't really know until you get there. Okay, so I'd like to open it up to some questions. If you have any questions for our college folks, I don't know if you want to come up. So I could be like Phil Donahue. I'm probably aging myself because nobody knows now who Phil Donahue is, right? Raise your hand if you know who Phil Donahue is. Oh, thank you. You saved me. Any questions from students and parents? Go ahead.
I'd like some clarity on the timetable. When are you expected to take the SAT or the ACT?
Okay.
I'm a little unclear which one. One has science, but if you take SAT and then you decide if you want a college that doesn't take, or do all colleges take one or the other, or they just take one? And then when do you take these things?
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the question for the audio people beyond the auditorium. So the question is, when do you take the SATs or the ACTs? So I'll answer part of it, and then maybe somebody can answer part of it too. So we always encourage our students to take the SAT and the ACT in the spring of the junior year. So we're a little early. We're not going to, start yet. But the best time is springtime of junior year. And there's multiple dates in the junior year in the spring. And then typically what happens, students get a score, and they kind of decide, I feel like I heard that, where, I'm a better SAT test taker versus ACT, or vice versa. And we have a way of deciding that. There's actually a chart that explains, that compares those scores, so we can tell which one's a better one for that student. And then the one that they do better on, maybe they take it again. And see if they can improve their score. So that sometimes happens. And my experience, and please correct me, is virtually all colleges accept either the SAT or the ACT. And it's just like that Coke and Pepsi visual. They're similar. They're not exactly the same, but they, some people just do better on one than the other. So you might have children who do better. One child does better on an SAT, and then the next child does better on the ACT. It just kind of works out that way. And colleges are happy to take either or. And if a student takes both tests and they score better on an SAT, they don't have to report or send their ACT. So you just send the test that reflects the best on the student, if that makes sense. Was there anything else?
Just one thing.
Sure.
So I agree with all of that. My other piece of advice always to students and families is that you should think about taking it multiple times, whether it's the SAT or the ACT, but don't take it more than 3 times. You tend to get the same score or worse. So statistically, the more you take it, everyone thinks, I'm going to do better, I'm going to do better. that's not always the case. We see students that stay the same or sometimes go lower. And again, a lot of schools will super score, so we will take the higher of each section on the SAT to make the highest combined score that we can for your student.
Okay. Anything else? Yes. And
How would foreign language
Oh.
sort of fit in with applying for college?
how does foreign language fit in? One of the big five.
So at Siena, we ultimately want to make sure if you're going into the School of Liberal Arts, since we have 3 schools, the School of Liberal Arts does have a foreign language requirement. It's the only school that does. And ultimately, when you're applying in, let's say, test optionally, we really want to make sure you have 19 academic units. And when I was saying 4 years of English, history, math, science, and 3 years of a foreign language, those are academic units to us. So the foreign language is just like one of those other core subjects, and it could be American Sign Language, it can be Spanish, it could be French, it could be really focused around what is offered in your high school and where your strengths lie. But it is just another one of those core 5 subjects that we do take into account. And if you're in the situation where, let's say, you have 1 year of a foreign language, but you're excelling in science, or you're excelling in math, or history, or English, and you might have 6 years of those courses, that can still allow you to apply and test optionally. But I would say it kind of revolves also around the 4 other core subject areas as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hi.
That's kind of the undeclared nature. So if that one is undeclared, like, does it take longer than to?
Oh, great question. Yes. So the question was, when a student comes in undeclared, do they still graduate basically on time like any other student? Yes, they do. We have a guarantee, and a lot of schools do now, because we also know the trend used to be go to a community college, figure it out, and then go to your school and finish the degree. Now a lot of schools know that we can prepare you just as well as a lot of community colleges, maybe a little bit better, more because you're in a smaller situation. Each student's a little bit different, but for Siena and how we go about our exploring options, a student comes in freshman year all the way to the end of their sophomore year taking a variety of classes within the School of Science, the School of Business, or the School of Liberal Arts. And by the time they get to the end of their sophomore year, they have to declare a major. But they have 4 semesters of that career exploration class. We do include an internship in that process so they can see what it's like before they declare the major. But more importantly, once they declare, they're still on track to graduate. So they don't lose any time, and most students now with AP classes and college level classes at the high school level, they're coming in ahead. So they're already on track to graduate early. This just allows them the flexibility of taking accounting twice before deciding this is the career I want to go into.
Anybody else? Yep.
What makes a student really stand out like the most?
Oh, that's a good question. What's a standout student look like?
So I think with every school, it's different. I can't speak for all colleges. Cobleskill looks solely at merit. So to make you stand out, really good grades make you stand out. High SAT or ACT scores, really great GPA. If you took up to pre-calculus or physics, something like that. Other schools, MCLA, I know you mentioned letters of recommendation, stellar letters of recommendation, volunteer experience, things like that. So it's different with every school. I think across the board we can all say that really, stellar grades makes any student stand out. But there are some schools out there that really look to differentiate students and, a stellar student with their essay or their letters of recommendation or their volunteer experience, resumes, things like that.
Yep. Go ahead.
And going along with the theme of it's different for every student, a stellar student to most colleges could be a student who's valedictorian, but not every student's valedictorian. Or a student who is working a part-time job 20 hours a week, is not involved in anything in high school, but still manages National Honor Society. That's a stellar student. Or a student who is class president, or is at least in a leadership role in multiple clubs. these are times right now to kind of consider, what clubs am I interested in getting involved in? Is yearbook club really, this is the year for it? Or is it going to be where I'm going to sign up for 5 clubs senior year? This is the time to really get in a good club and activity, because by the time you're a senior, you will be in a leadership role. And most colleges know that if you're involved in high school, you're going to get involved in college. And when you get involved in college, you stay. And that's really why we say clubs, activities, get involved, because that tends to provide success once you get to the college level.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What is the difference between AP classes and the super classes?
Okay. So AP stands for Advanced Placement, and that's a standardized curriculum that is through the company called College Board, which also does SAT, PSAT. And so for example, if somebody's going to take an AP course here at Guilderland and you decide to move, to another state and take the same class in that other state, in that school, it's in essence the same curriculum, where U.S. history in New York might look a little bit different than U.S. history in another state. So AP is basically a standardized curriculum. It's college level. There is a standardized test of that course in May of that year that the student takes that test. So, and the highest a student can score on an AP course is 5. Most colleges, depending on the course, will give college credit to the student if they get usually a 3, 4, or a 5. Some it's only a 4 or a 5. It depends on how that's, what the college and the course decide. A SUPA course is through Syracuse University. And so it's basically, we're almost like, quote unquote, a satellite campus of Syracuse University offering some of their courses. And so students can take those classes. There is a tuition fee. It's a reduced cost. And as long as the student performs well and achieves at least a minimum grade in that course, they can transfer that course certainly onto Syracuse University, but not all people are going to Syracuse University with SUPA courses, so they can transfer those courses on to many other colleges as well. And that's a question that you could actually ask when you go on a college visit. Does your college accept SUPA courses? Does your college accept college in the high school courses like our foreign language classes at the 5th and the 6th year from SUNY Albany, SUNY Oswego? We offer that as well. So there's multiple college credits that students can earn from a variety of colleges here at Guilderland. So
is the AP a college course also, or just a SUPA?
It's a college level course.
So when they go into college, it's accepted as a credit?
It can be. And yeah. Correct. So colleges are going to let students know, do we, we accept AP credits, we accept other colleges' credits if you've taken them in the high school. Sometimes they don't. But I would say probably AP credits tend to be the most universally accepted. But I have to say my experience, and I think our experience as a counseling department here, most students who take college in the high school courses across all levels, all courses that we offer, most colleges tend to accept those credits. So, every college has their own policy in terms of how many credits they'll accept, either coming from high school or, they're called dual enrollment courses, or from another college. But I have found that it tends to be pretty flexible. But if you want to speak to, I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that.
Can I make one recommendation?
Yep, go ahead.
So the one thing I'll add to that is when you have the option of deciding, okay, do I want to take an AP class or take a SUPA class through Syracuse University, ask yourself whether or not you might be better at standardized tests or not, too. Because for Siena College, for instance, it's annoying for me as an admissions counselor to say we only accept 4s and 5s on the AP exam, when in reality we'll transfer in any college credit from another university with a C or better. So we encourage students, if you have the option between the AP or the college level course in high school, go with the college level course in high school, because as long as it's C or better in 3 credits or more, no matter what the class is, it will at least replace an elective when they get to Siena College. Whereas if a student gets a 3 on an AP exam, it's not going to transfer into Siena College. So that's at least my recommendation, but other schools could be different. Do you guys want to add anything?
I just want to add one quick thing. Sorry. So the other thing to consider that we did talk about is that not every college takes these courses. So that's something else you want to take into consideration as well. If you have 5 college classes and 10 AP classes, and your top college is not going to take your hard work, that's something to take into consideration as well. There's a lot of universities now that might take 1 college in the high school class, maybe 2. But if you have multiple, don't let your hard work and your money, in some cases, go to waste, because you can be advancing yourself to sophomore status, some cases junior status, depending on how many classes you have. I had a student who came from up north in New York, and she came in with 32 credits, and she's about to graduate in a week because she had that many college credits. So just something to think about. Little pitch for MCLA. We will take score of 3 or higher on the AP and C or higher, and we have unlimited amounts currently as to how many college credits we'll take in. Just a piece of advice. She graduated, yes, in 3 years she graduated.
Okay. Oh, question in the back.
Okay, so what do colleges think of clubs versus athletics?
Okay, so what do colleges think of clubs versus athletics?
And do you have to be with a leader in these kind of things for colleges to recognize you?
Okay, and do you have to be a leader? There's not everybody can be the captain, right?
No, right, exactly. I think just stressing the point of just being involved. That's really what we want to see. You don't have to be the captain of your team. You don't have to also be, the president of your club. But just being involved really does show us that you're not just going home after school and playing video games, especially when the GPA is a little bit lower than we like. When you're very involved and you're very active in your high school, we know that's what you're going to do when you get to Siena. And if the grade's a little bit lower, but we know you have got 5 things going on outside of the classroom, then we're willing to roll the dice on that student, or at least not deny them on the first try. Yeah.
Okay.
So Fortnite might be something that we might need to talk about later.
Well, we do have a gaming club. So
oh, okay. Oh, there you go. At Siena, there's a gaming club. But, oh, wait. Did you? Who's raising? Oh, I'm sorry. Minors, okay. So there's majors in college, and then there's also things called minors.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Because you guys have a couple different things. So at Siena, every major we offer, we have 15 classes of electives to do what you want. And it used to be, I want a double major. That's definitely what I want to do. I want a double major. You can definitely double major if you want, but it's so much more marketable to have a minor, a certificate, or a concentration. And the big differences between a minor, concentration, and a certificate is the amount of classes you take to earn it. So at Siena, our minors are typically 6 to 8 classes. Our certificates are 10 to 13, but then also our concentrations are only 4 to 6. So you can have a major in English, but be a pre-law certificate student as well, so because that's your track to go into law school, or your communications major, but you also have an entrepreneurship minor. These are things that kind of allow an employer to see, yes, I'm an expert in communications, but my focus was in this very niche field, but I'm not pigeonholed in this certain area as well. Do you guys want to elaborate at all? All right, we concur. Yeah.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Oh, that's a good question. Diplomas. That's very interesting. So here's something that I think a lot of times sometimes families and students get, they get very focused on is the type of diploma that you're working towards. And of course, we want you to challenge yourselves. We want you to take appropriate classes. Don't get overwhelmed. But so there's 2 types of diplomas in essence in New York State. There's the Regents Diploma, and then there's the Advanced Regents Diploma. Now keep in mind, we don't designate your diploma until you've graduated from high school. So that's June of your senior year. You've walked across stage. We have a transcript for you that gets sent on to your employer, your college, wherever the plan is for you. That's when we let colleges know what type of diploma that student has earned. So you could be working towards an advanced Regents diploma or a Regents diploma, but I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe colleges accept students based on the type of diploma that they earn. I think the main focus is what are the courses that you're taking, and are you appropriately challenging yourself? I heard a lot about English, social studies, math, science, and foreign language. Those are the main things that most colleges are looking for. And so, not to say that electives aren't important, because they're absolutely important. We have a lot of electives here at Guilderland. Did you want to add to anything about the diploma conversation, or okay?
We don't look at it in Massachusetts.
Okay, so in Massachusetts, they're not considering the type of diploma, but again, it's not really designated anywhere until you've graduated. And when you graduate, you've already bought and paid a spot at a college in May of your senior year. So does that hopefully that answers that question. Anybody else? Yep.
We haven't talked about financial aid. I'm sure it's based on both need and merit. And one of the questions I always had is, if you have a couple of parents who scrimped and saved all they could for your college education, maybe another couple of parents who just spend money on vacations. When it comes to applying for financial aid, are the parents that save penalized because they have a lot of money saved?
So it's a question about financial aid. And okay.
So I don't think any of us here are financial aid experts. We all probably have financial aid offices that do have financial aid experts, but we know a little bit about it. Financial aid, from what I know, FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, you guys are all going to have to know that in senior year when you apply. Financial aid is based off of income, assets sometimes, but the majority of it, with the way that financial aid is working now, it's called prior. This is not something you have to know right now, but it means that it's how much you're eligible for in federal aid is based on your income from 2 years before that. Your income this year, basically, is what you're going to have to put in for when you're applying to college in 2 years from now. I don't think that savings has a huge impact, but I'm sure that there is a little bit. A lot of it is purely financial, based on state and federal income. Really, merit has nothing to do with financial aid because it's all state-based. I don't know if you guys have any more to add. That's as far as I can go with financial aid.
So a little bit more that I can add is that the biggest piece of advice is to apply early. And you're going to hear admissions counselors say that over and over and over again. October 1st is when the FAFSA is available each year. So in 2 Octobers from now, please start filling out your FAFSAs. I hope I can speak for everybody, but at least at MCLA, money goes fast, right? Money goes really fast, no matter what your income is. So the other piece of advice is that even if you think your family makes too much money, still apply, because you don't know what you can get. You can always deny any of the financial aid that you're given. Lucky you. But it is a possibility. And so you never know what kind of scholarships that can come in addition to loans. So it's not always just loans. It can be a little of everything. In some institutions, you may not be eligible for scholarships or financial aid if you don't fill out the FAFSA at all. So just a little piece of advice. So keep saving. Because it's not the full factor that financial aid looks at, but it will obviously better yourself and your students, so keep saving. Anything else?
And the one thing that I think a lot of people get a little nervous about too is that maybe the information on the FAFSA might not truly represent the real true household income. And what we have at Siena is the opportunity for families to fill out a change of circumstances form, meaning that once you submit your FAFSA and we put together your financial aid package, you can submit this form indicating private school expenses, medical expenses, change in job. These are things that change, especially over the next 2 years. So one thing, while you're also meeting with the admissions counselors, hopefully on your college visits, try to meet with financial aid. They can't really give you too much information that's specific to you at that time without a FAFSA on file. But once you do have your FAFSA on file and you receive your financial aid package, they really want to sit down and walk you through it so that you understand why you're paying this amount. Why does it cost students this amount to go to this specific university? And the sticker price is a thing you hear about cars and colleges. It's very true. A lot of the time, one student will get a financial aid package to Siena, and then it'll look completely different from somebody else, and they're from the same high school and they have same academics. It's because it all comes down to the families. And more times than not, the academics are going to be different for two students applying from the same school. So the merit will most of the time always pile on top of the financial aid. More private schools now are including scholarships just because of where you live. And I encourage you, don't worry, you're doing the right thing by saving right now too. That's going to be used in the first year. And also you have to file the FAFSA every year too. So one family spending all the money and not saving while the other family is saving, no matter what, they're going to file the FAFSA the next year anyways. So it's all going to pretty much even out, and everybody's a little bit different. So it's tough to answer the financial aid questions in a large group without just giving more general information. But as you go through this process, ask these questions because they're specific to you, and we can answer them for you more one-on-one in group sessions.
Okay. Well, we'd like to thank you all for coming, but before you go, I'd like to hand things over to Amy Knapp, and can we just have another round of applause for our presenters tonight? Thank you. This was fantastic. Thank you. It was wonderful. So I think we're all walking away much more well-informed than we walked into this room. So Amy Knapp, counselor extraordinaire. Now you have to live up to that. So you're going to talk about the pre-ACT and how to access it and the website.
And the survey.
And the survey.
Okay, so before you leave, if you would please take a moment, we emailed you all a very quick survey. It was designed to be able to be answered on your phone. You're welcome to stay for the explanation of the pre-ACT. If you're not staying for that, though, if you could fill out the survey before you leave, that would be great, and then you don't have to think about it once you've left. So if everybody could just take a minute to do that now. If you can access it on your phone, obviously if you can't, you'll have to do it later. Okay, for those of you who are still here, I may be showing you the most important thing that I'm going to talk about, which is how to access the Counseling Center website. We know that people are like, we can't find anything anymore, so we're going to show you how to get there. And then there are actually 2 quick videos that we have posted there about understanding your pre-ACT results. We'll show them here. They're only 2 minutes apiece, but if you feel like, okay, I've taken in all the information I can tonight, they are on our website. You can access them from home. So when you go to the Guilderland Central School website, you're going to click on Our Schools. Click on Guilderland High School. Then you have to scroll down. On the left-hand side, you would click on Counseling Center. Now, this has some basic information, like our curriculum guide is here, but really where we keep up-to-date information is on our Google site. What you might want to do is open this for the first time and then save it as a favorite. Once you're here, testing information is right here, so you're going to go ahead and click on that. And I apologize a little bit for showing you these videos, but when I went to put together a presentation today, I thought, oh my God, they did such a fabulous job. There's no way that I can compete with that, so I'd rather just show you what they've done. And that way also you know it's here, so you can go back and look at it again if it goes too fast for you. I also want to show you, what? Okay. Well, at least the videos work. I'm going to have to go back and look at that because that did open earlier. There is a link to a document called Using Your Pre-ACT Results. ACT was supposed to send us paper copies of this, but somehow they left it out of the shipment and they said it was going to take weeks for us to get it. So we didn't want to hold the results for weeks. We wanted to get the results into your hands. So I did put a link to this online. I don't know why it's not working right now, so I have to find that out, but hopefully I'll have that resolved first thing in the morning. Hopefully the videos still work. Okay.
Hello. Welcome to Understanding Your Pre-ACT Score Report. I'm Lauren, and I will walk you through how to read the score report that you have received from your school. After watching this video, you will understand what every section of your results means, and how you can use the data to help you perform better in school and prep for college. The first result in your score report is your pre-ACT composite score. You will also find your scores in math, science, English, reading, and your STEM score, the super score of your math and science scores. You'll see in this section that the solid blue line represents your score. The transparent blue box represents your score range. The pre-ACT test was designed to predict the scores of 10th grade students who will take the ACT test within 12 to 18 months of taking the pre-ACT test. Your score range represents the estimate of your academic development over the time since taking the pre-ACT test. The solid gray line with the number bubble attached represents the ACT readiness benchmark. If your score is at or higher than the benchmark, you have a 50% chance of earning a B and a 75% chance of earning a C in a college-level course in that subject. If you score below that benchmark, you'll know to improve in that subject area. Next to your score ranges, you'll find the percent of students who took the pre-ACT test who scored at or below your score for each subject test. In this example, you'll see that 68% of students who took the pre-ACT test scored at or below this student's composite score of 19. The next set of data in your score report shows the different reporting categories within each subject test. Next to each category, you will find the number of items you answered correctly out of the total number of items in each reporting category. You can use this data to focus your study when preparing for the ACT test. For example, you will see that this student only got 2 correct answers out of 5 geometry problems on the math test. The student will know to focus their study efforts on geometry. Finally, your score report contains an item response summary. The summary includes the correct responses to all of the items on the test and your incorrect answers. You can ask for a copy of the test booklet to review specific items that you answered incorrectly. The item response summary also includes tips specific to your results for improving on your weaknesses in each subject. For more help reading your results or applying them to your ACT prep work, please visit act.org.
Okay, and there's one more video which talks about the non-test portions of the test. That was about your score on the academic part, but students also answered a series of questions about
Welcome to Understanding Your Pre-ACT
I'll tell you.
Score Report, non-cognitive information. I'm Lauren, and I will walk you through how to read the score report that you have received from your school. Remember the questions about your classes and interests that you answered before the pre-ACT test? The data in your pre-ACT score report from that information will help you make decisions about your future coursework and post-graduation plans. First, your report will show your coursework compared to the coursework recommended for college preparation. If your coursework does not match the recommendation, you should talk with your teachers and counselors about your options for taking more classes or getting more college prep in that subject area. Next, your score report includes data about your interest-career fit. You provided your career interests and completed an interest inventory by answering questions about your level of interest in a variety of activities. The results of your interest inventory make up the career map in your score report. The map is a circle divided into sections. These sections represent different levels of interest in working with people, data, things, and ideas. Within the sections, you will find careers that work for people with those interest levels. For example, the map shows that those who are equally interested in people and data would probably enjoy marketing and sales, while those who are interested in things and somewhat interested in ideas would probably enjoy manufacturing. The shaded areas of the circle show what careers you might be interested in based on your responses to the interest inventory. This section of data also compares your interests to the career interests you provided. The score report compares your composite score to the average scores of successful college students in a major that fits your self-reported career interests. You will also find out whether your interests are a low, medium, or high fit for your self-reported career interest. For more help reading your results or applying them to your future coursework and career plans, please visit act.org.
So while I'm here, I just want to point out that there is a lot of great information on our website. It's all listed over here on the left-hand side. So if you're looking for information, it actually is there. It's just a little bit hard to get to, so don't give up. And if you have questions about the pre-ACT or anything else, please reach out to your school counselor. We are happy to help with anything. And thanks for sticking with us tonight. I know it's been a long evening. It's been a lot of information, so we really appreciate you guys coming and staying. Thank you.